Greetings, Commanders, and welcome to the Friendship Drive Beginner's Guide to Making Money in Elite Dangerous in 2022. In this video, I'll be sharing some of my favourite ways to make credits in Elite, starting with beginner-friendly methods you can use right away, all the way up to big earners that can keep your credit balance topped up when you've already been playing for a while. Before we get started, this is not a comprehensive guide to money making. There are definitely other methods out there, so if you have a favourite that I haven't mentioned, I'd love it if you'd share it in the comments. First up, we have the Road to Riches. This is a super beginner-friendly method that can be begun from the moment you leave the starter systems. You can use any ship and can technically even start without any upgrades, though I will make a few suggestions for upgrades to get as soon as possible. The Road to Riches involves you exploring local systems without having to travel too far and scanning all the valuable planets in those systems. These are things like Earth-like, water, ammonia, and terraformable high metal content worlds. The beauty of this method is that it nets you a decent amount of credits to get you started on your career, can be done with any time commitment, and it's super relaxing. I haven't gone into detail here on how to use each of the exploration tools, but if there's interest, I will absolutely do an in-depth exploration guide soon. To get started, filter your galaxy map to show agriculture and terraformable systems, which you can find in the economy tab, and jump to any of the highlighted systems. You can also use third-party tools such as Psyche or ED tools, both linked in the description, to plot your route. Once at your destination, fly away from the star a short distance while activating your Discovery Scanner, which comes pre-built in all ships nowadays. Then, open up your Full System Scanner, or FSS, highlight the signal you want to scan, and zoom in until you can complete your scan. You can either fully scan the whole system, or just scan the valuable ones I mentioned before. Not all systems in the bubble will require an FSS scan, but those systems can still make you some credits with the next step. To make extra money from these scans, make sure to equip your ship with a detailed surface scanner as soon as you can. This will cost you 250,000 credits, but greatly increases the payout from these valuable planets. Once you've purchased one for your ship, make sure to assign it to a button in your fire groups on your right-hand panel. For the next step, open up your system map and target any of the valuable planets you found and fly out towards them. Once you're close to them, activate your detailed surface scanner and launch probes at the surface until they're fully mapped. Remember the efficiency bonus for using fewer probes than the efficiency target. Finally, take all this newly scanned data and sell it at a station at Universal Cartographics to receive your credits. You can easily make 100 million credits in a few hours of gameplay with literally any ship. Remember that you need to be at least 20 light years away from the system you scanned to sell the data. This is a great way to get your reputation up with a faction, as selling exploration data can get you instantly to allied status, which can be used to get some of the better missions in the next methods. As for the upgrades that I'd recommend, it'd be a great idea to make sure you have the best frameshift drive you can afford and a decent fuel scoop. While you won't be travelling very far, having a bigger jump range will make travel much easier, and the fuel scoop will ensure you never find yourself stranded and having to call the fuel rats, who are amazing by the way. Secondly, passenger missions are still a great earner in 2022. Once you have a bit of starting cash, I'd recommend taking a medium ship like a Python and heading over to Robigo Mines. The reason for the medium ship, Robigo Mines is an outpost, meaning it doesn't have any large landing pads. If you can't afford a Python, you can start this method with a small ship, but you won't make as much money. Assuming you do go with a Python, fit it out with as many cabins as you can. You could take either all economy cabins or a mixture of economy and business cabins to maximize your earnings. I personally tried this with Class 6 business cabins and the rest economy, but feel free to experiment and find what works best for you. Then, head to the passenger lounge in the mission tab and take the highest paying sightseeing missions that go to Sirius atmospherics. Once you've filled up your cabins, set course for Sothis and start jumping. Depending on your ship build, you should make it there in anywhere from 2 to 4 jumps. This method doesn't require any engineering, but engineering your frameshift drive for jump range and shedding any unnecessary mass will make it go a little quicker, increasing your profits. When you arrive at Sothis, locate Sirius atmospherics and fly out towards it. Drop out of Super Cruise and scan the tourist beacon there. Then, simply head back to Robigo and dock up at Robigo Mines to complete your missions and pick up your next batch. This method can admittedly get a little tedious, but if you're looking to earn a little bit of extra cash, you can currently get around 100 million credits per hour running these sightseeing missions, so I definitely recommend them for short bursts if you find yourself needing some credits. Next up at number 3, mining. Mining has always been a potential moneymaker in Elite, and it has gone through many iterations in the game's lifetime. I'm specifically not going to talk about core mining here because while core minerals tend to sell for more per ton, they do take longer to find unless you're using a map of the ring. I don't personally do mapped mining, which can work for both laser mining and core mining. for one reason. I'm gonna be vulnerable with you all here. I have no sense of direction, and following a map of a planetary ring will just simply take me longer than flying around and mining some rocks with my lasers. I know. We may revisit mapped mining in a future video. For now though, I have linked a list of currently maintained maps in the description in case you'd like to give mapped mining a go yourself. I hope you have a better sense of direction than I do. Laser mining is, however, still a profitable venture. You can use the ED Miners tool linked below to find which mineral is selling well and locate a hotspot near you. Often, platinum is a good seller, but it's worth checking as prices may change over time. Then you simply fly out to the hotspot and use prospector limpets to find rocks with a high concentration of the mineral you're seeking. Fire your mining lasers at the rock until it's depleted, have your collector limpets collect all the goodies and refine it in your refinery, and take yourself off with a full cargo hold to one of the locations that's buying for a decent price and has a high enough demand, and sell your haul there. Do keep in mind that prices do fluctuate over time as commanders meet the demand of the station, so it's best to try to sell to a station where the time in the when column on the ED Miners tool is very recent. If you need some advice on how to get started with mining, check out my beginner's guide to mining, also linked in the description. Keep in mind that this video was made before universal multi-limpet controllers were released, so they are not included. Our fourth method is a new one and is exclusive to Odyssey. I know this might come as a surprise, but on-foot conflict zones can actually be incredibly lucrative. For this, I recommend going to EDDB and searching for systems with a state of civil war. You can double check each system to ensure that it has landable bodies with settlements on them, and then fly on over to the system. Dock at one of the stations or outposts and approach the Frontline Solutions desk. Here you can sign up to take part in the war. Select whichever faction you wish to fight for and where you want to go. Remember, high intensity conflict zones are better for money, but obviously a little more dangerous. You'll then hop on the Frontline Solutions dropship, which you can access from the elevator nearby. Once you arrive at the conflict zone, you simply have to win the battle by depleting your opponent's redeployment points shown on the on-screen counter. You can do this by either killing enemies or by helping capture one of the control points around the map. However, for the money making, you want to be killing as many enemies as possible. A great way to maximize your profits is to tag as many enemies as you can, especially if your friendly NPCs or your buddies are also shooting the same targets. Faster kills result in better payouts for you. Hand in your combat bonds after the battle, and you could easily be making 50 million credits an hour doing what is arguably one of the most fun activities in the game, assuming you own the Odyssey expansion. It should go without saying, but just in case it doesn't, make sure you have a loadout created before going into one of these conflict zones and that you've selected the correct loadout before landing. Use whichever weapons you're most comfortable with, but I'd recommend a Dominator suit of some kind, even if it's just a grade 1 if that's all you have, for the extra primary weapon. Big shout out to Asticon, Brother Sabathius and Clipturn for sharing this method with me and encouraging me to get off my bum and do some on-foot combat for cash. I not only had a ton of fun, but I've started making money doing something that I really enjoy, and that's always good. And finally, my fifth method for making money in 2022 is probably the most profitable, and that is running trade missions. If space trucking sounds like your jam, then this is the one for you. The method I'm about to describe does benefit from having a bigger ship, and even better if you have a wing of friends and big ships, so this is more intended for commanders who have already been playing for a while. These missions often pop up in systems that are in the expansion or boom states. You can once again find these systems on EDDB. You're looking for a system in expansion or boom with a station with large landing pads that is controlled by the controlling faction. For example, if the controlling faction of the system is Boot Brigade, you'll want to dock at a station that is also controlled by the Boot Brigade. You can find this in EDDB or in the system information in-game. Keep in mind that other system or faction states can impact the type of missions you get offered. Once you find your target system, head on over in your big trucker ship, I personally use an Imperial cutter, dock up and check out the mission offerings. You're looking for Mining Rush, Mining Expansion Effort, Boom Time Delivery, or Source and Return wing missions. These missions have a big payout and can be completed solo or as part of a wing, making them even quicker. The expansion missions specifically can pay out up to 50 million per mission and can be completed solo in as few as 2 runs. The most important thing to check is that the required item is something that you can easily buy from a station. For example, for mining expansion effort missions, you'll likely want to avoid things like bromellite as they can only be mined or bought from a fleet carrier. Good examples to buy would be bertrandite, gallite, indite, or coltan, as these can all be purchased in stations and are often available as mission requirements. Again, missions with the wing symbol, which looks like a ring with 3 dots around the edge, mean they can be completed as part of a wing. This will make them even more lucrative as the number of minerals required to complete the mission remains the same, the payout is per person, and completing it with a friend or two makes the mission much shorter, meaning you can make more credits per hour. On top of this, you're spreading the cost of purchasing the items between multiple people but still earning the same payout. However, if you don't have anyone to run the missions with, you can still do them by yourself. It'll just take a little longer and you'll earn fewer credits per hour. If you can't accept any of the missions due to your reputation with the faction, worry not. Selling around 10 million credits worth of exploration data, give or take a million, is enough to get to Allied in one sitting. You can use the Road to Riches mentioned earlier in the video to get this amount of exploration data in about 30 minutes if you don't have any already to sell. Remember that you need to be at least 20 light years away from the system you scanned to sell it at Universal Cartographics. Also remember that the station you sell it at for this method needs to be owned by the controlling faction, i.e. the one that's in expansion. Next, you simply need to find any stations nearby selling what the mission is looking for. Once again, you can do this on EDDB. Simply go to the Commodities tab and select the mineral you're looking for, put in the name of your mission destination in the current system box. Make sure to select No for fleet carriers, set your landing pad size to L for large, and set buy or sell to buy. I don't normally input a minimum supply, but do pay attention to the supply column and make sure there's enough to complete your mission. Then simply set out and head on over to that system to fill up your belly with minerals to bring back. Your missions will take multiple runs, especially if you're doing it solo, but you can make 100 to 200 million per hour by yourself, and more if you're playing with friends. It is worth noting, however, that these missions are not always available. The mission board refreshes once every 10 minutes, so rather than sitting around and waiting for missions, you could always run a trade loop from your station of choice and check the mission board each time you come back. EDDB also has the option to search for a trade loop, which I've linked in the description. This way you'll be making profit while you wait, rather than twiddling your thumbs. There are so many other ways to make credits in Elite these days. These are just a few of them. Bounty hunting, for example, has become a lot more viable as a way of making credits than ever before since Frontier buffed the payouts from combat. This involves grabbing massacre missions and flying out to mission signal sources and blowing up enemies, getting bounties for killing them, and a payout for handing in the mission. I don't do this enough, so I haven't included it in the guide, but it is certainly an option if you prefer to do ship combat. If you have another method that I haven't mentioned and you'd like to share, please do leave a comment below, I'd love to hear them. I hope this video was helpful. Remember that credits per hour isn't the only measure of how to play Elite. We always joke in my stream that we prefer fun per hour, so make sure not to let the grind get to you. Speaking of my stream, if you'd like to come hang out with us over on Twitch, I stream Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays and Fridays at noon UK time, and we play Elite at least once or twice a week with other space, sandbox and story games in between. We also have a Discord that you're more than welcome to join, linked in the description, along with where else you can find me on the internet. Thanks for watching, and as always, fly safe and keep that friendship drive charging.